The army is speechless. BTS's Jin reportedly turned down the release of the album for the sake of his sick mother, but why did he appear in EXO's photo shoot? What's behind the blank look? A shocking leak from HYB's internal staff stated that Jin was threatened to quit BTS if he did not participate in the photo shoot. Is this really the reason behind his strange attitude lately? Has HYB crossed the line? Why do genies look so different these days? Why does something feel so awkward every time it appears on the screen? Why isn't his smile the same? Why does his gaze seem to speak, even though his lips never say a word? And the biggest question that is now shaking the entire ARMY world: if Jin really refused the release of the album in favor of accompanying his sick mother, then why did he remain present at EXO's physically and emotionally draining photo shoot? It didn't take long for the ARMY to sense that something was wrong. They know. They always know. There was something in the way Jin looked down, in the way he looked at the camera, in every movement that was uncharacteristic. Not just tired. It's not just the usual pressure from the industry. There are deeper wounds. But the wound didn't belong to Jin, it now belonged to the millions of hearts that had been beating along with him. It all started with a small leak. A sentence that was uttered almost silently, but echoed like an explosion behind the scenes of the South Korean entertainment industry. An internal staffer who declined to be named said one sentence that will never be forgotten: if Jin doesn't take part in EXO's photo shoot, he will be kicked out of BTS. How is that possible? Isn't BTS home to Jin? Aren't they family? Or has the word family long since lost its meaning behind the glitter of the stage and the billion-won contracts? In a closed-door conversation, the source revealed that Jin had refused to be involved in the release of BTS's latest album because his mother was hospitalized. He wanted to be by his mother's side. He knows time is precious, and he doesn't want to regret it. But the pressure from above is too strong. The threats are coming not only for him, but for the whole team, said the source with a trembling voice to threat. For Jin, an idol that has been part of BTS's history since its inception, who stood firm with the other 6 members through the storms and pressures of more than a decade. Did HYB really threaten to take him out just because he chose to be a child who wanted to take care of his mother? But the question now becomes more complicated. If Jin really refused the release of the album, why did he still appear in EXO's photo shoot? Why does he still stand under the spotlights, smiling in front of the camera, when everyone knows, even from the screen, that it is not the same smile? According to the leak, Jin's decision to remain present at the photo shoot was not because he changed his mind. Except for the pressure, he couldn't resist. He doesn't want to disappoint other members. I don't want to worry fans. But more than that, she was faced with a cruel choice: come in or out. And now we are faced with a deeper dilemma. Did HYB really dare to do that? Do they really have the heart to suppress an idol who is in a fragile point of his life just for the sake of the smooth operation of the visual EXO project? And more than that, is the ARMY just a silent spectator of this fight? Jin's eyes in EXO's photo shoot went viral not because of his unfading good looks, not because of the grandiose concept of shooting, but because there is a void that feels real. A void that cannot be masked by the best lighting or the touch of the most expensive makeup artist. That face is not acting. And that's what makes it all so painful. For too long, Idol has been forced to hide the pain. Too often they have forced a smile behind a contract written in cold ink. But when the genie known to be the calmest, most powerful, and most compassionate begins to show obvious signs of exhaustion, shouldn't we start asking, what's really behind HYB's scenes? Is Jin the only victim of this pressure? Or are there more stories still hidden behind fame and prestige? Is it true that Jin's decision to remain in the photo shoot was only because of threats? Or is there something darker, more personal, that he has not yet had time to tell anyone about? Why didn't HYB allow the postponement of the shoot even though Jin was in a period of personal crisis? Is it because of the contract? Is money and schedule more valuable than the time that only a child can give to a sick mother? What is even more painful, there is no official statement on the part of the agency explaining this situation in a humane way. There is no explanation as to why Jin had to take part in the photo shoot when he had previously refused.
No επαλεδείς.
There is no real sympathy. There are only schedules, cameras, and expectations. Meanwhile, the army continues to search for clues. They began to collect puzzle pieces from videos, photos, and ambiguous-sounding statements. They realized that there was a time mismatch between the photo shoot and Jin's state of health. There is tension in the interaction between members. There are pauses between sentences that are usually vigorous. Jin himself has not given a direct statement. But maybe he didn't have to. Perhaps his body language has explained enough. Perhaps his gaze was already shouting everything. And maybe, just maybe, we've allowed all this to happen for too long, until finally, an idol who just wants to be by her mother's side is forced to choose between family and career. Did I ask this the price you have to pay to be a legend? Is this proof that even BTS is not immune from a system that demands everything without ever giving space to taste? ARMY is now at the crossroads between admiration and sadness. They love Jin. They love BTS. But they are also human beings who can feel injustice. They refuse to be silent. And the more questions arise, the greater the wave of unstoppable emotions. Will HYB provide clarification? Will they apologize? Or will remain silent, hoping that this storm will pass you by? Clearly, this storm has awakened something in the hearts of the army. And like the history they once carved together with BTS, the love they have for Jin is not a love that can be silenced by threats or media manipulation. This is the love that will stand still, even when everything starts to collapse. And perhaps, in that blank stare, the genie just wants us to know one thing, that he is tired, that he doesn't want to be strong all the time, that he just wants to be a good boy. And maybe we should all listen before it's too late. Will Jin survive? Will HYB be responsible? And will we witness a separation imposed by the system, not by the heart? Time will tell. But before that happens, we can only ask, is this the end of everything? Or the beginning of a truth that is finally coming to light? Someone once said that silence is the most painful form of communication. Not because there is no sound, but because we know someone is struggling not to crumble before our eyes. That's what ARMY felt when he saw Jin standing behind Echo's frame. He looked sculpted, beautiful as ever, alluring as always, but something wasn't caught on camera, and ironically, precisely because it was too real. A sadness she couldn't hide. A behind-the-scenes Echo video that was leaked for a few seconds on a staff account that was immediately deleted a few minutes later. Jin is heard saying quietly, "Does this really have to be done now?" Her voice sounded low, almost inaudible, but enough to make anyone who loved her feel sliced. The on-site staff, who ended up speaking anonymously to a large fanbase in the closed community, revealed that Jin was briefly absent from the initial briefing of Echo's photo shoot. He came late. His face was swollen like a person deprived of sleep. But the most heartbreaking, he's not talking to anybody. Just stood and looked at the floor for almost 10 minutes, the staffer said, in a clearly audible tone of regret. She said she felt guilty for her mother, but he also felt guilty for the members. He's like in the middle of a battlefield he didn't choose, he continued, and amid all this, one big question arose that shook the world.